Okay, so maybe let's just wait a couple of more minutes and then we can start.
Alejandro, I say let's get going. Let's respect the people that showed up here on time, and the
Yeah,
people
of
that missed
course.
the first few minutes can watch the recording.
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes sense. We have just started the recording, so we can send that afterwards for the people that join later. Okay, so thank you everyone for taking the time to join us. We're very excited. Today we have Clint as our guest. He's the CEO of Level, which is a recruitment virtual assistant company, and he will be explaining how to level up and how to scale your nanny agency by hiring virtual assistants. So Clint, thank you so much for joining us, and you can go ahead and start.
Hey, appreciate it, Alejandro. So thank you all. I'm excited to be here. I know we don't have a ton of time today, so I'm going to try to get through as much content as I possibly can. I do speak quickly, so if you need me to slow down, say something. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going, and we'll have time for questions at the end for everybody. So thank you all for being here, especially for the people on camera. You know I love you more than anybody else. So, but I do like to know here. I'd like to know who I'm speaking with. So who in the audience here, either show of hands, type it in the chat, put your little hand up on the Zoom button. Who here is a solo business owner? Meaning it is just you right now. Nobody else, is just yourself. All right, I'm gonna give a couple seconds for answers here. All right, great, great. Who here is actually an employee, or they work for a business or part of a business? Okay, I see a few there. Awesome. And who here is an actual business owner with a team of people? So meaning they've made hires before, they have people on their team. And Lena, Susan, Tina, fantastic. Okay, who here has hired somebody locally, which means to me, in your area, works close by you, somewhere in your office or maybe down the street from you? All right, couple people there. And then who here has hired somebody overseas? All right. Got it. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that to me. It kind of helps me tailor this a little bit better. So guys, I kind of want to share with you first off, here's how I've understood from working with nanny agencies for years and years now, looking at your websites, coming to the conferences, this is how I understand nanny agencies to work. So you guys kind of learn what your client is looking for. You're understanding what their needs are to make that kind of hire for their team or for their personal world. You match them with some people that you think might be a good fit. There's kind of some joint interviews, talking, making sure you're paying the right person. You actually help that person get onboarded if they are, you know, maybe a longer term nanny hire, and then you support that relationship. Is that about right for a generalization of what you guys do? Awesome. I'm seeing some slight head nods, which to me is 100% yes. That means I'm accurate. Fantastic. Great. So here's what you need to know about what we do. It's the exact same thing. That's really it, guys. We do the exact same thing. We just hire somebody overseas. So that should complete my presentation. Are there any questions whatsoever? No, I'm completely kidding, guys. You don't have to laugh because I know you're all on mute. I'll just pretend like I heard roaring laughter. Fantastic. Guys, my name is Clint Muhlenberg. I am the founder and CEO of Level. We are a virtual specialist or virtual assistant recruiting and staffing agencies. So we help companies make real hires that are happening to be in the Philippines. Prior to this, I was the former DOO, COS, LM, NOP of one of the top real estate teams worldwide. And over my various industries, various careers, I've done a lot of hiring, and I've helped directly and indirectly hired. I think now it's somewhere between 500-600 people. So I have a lot of experience with hiring, a lot of experience with people. Learning people and learning the hiring process is one of my favorite things. So enough about me. I want to share you something or share a story about someone else. So back when I was in the real estate industry, I started working, and the first thing I was given as a director of operations was, hey, here are the team members that are going to be reporting to you. Looked over the list, met everybody. I was like, hey, there's a few people missing from this list. Where are they? One of them at the top was Charity. And I was like, where's Charity at? They're like, oh, she's in the Philippines. What, is she on vacation? What's she doing there? Oh no, she lives there. Okay, now I'm confused. This is back in 2015, and I had, 4.5 years before this picture was ever taken. I was like, I don't understand. And they're like, okay, so Charity is what's typically called a virtual assistant. And all it means is she works in the Philippines. She still works for our team. She has a role. Charity's role at that time was managing reports, setting up some dialing lists, working on our systems and processes, fixing those types of stuff. But I was really intrigued because I was like, I don't understand how we got connected with this person or how we have employees in the Philippines. So I started calling Charity, and I started calling her after work. My commute was about 45 minutes to an hour every day. So right after work, Charity was still on shift. So I'd call her up and say, just chat with her about her life, her livelihood, what she does. And ultimately, I started really understanding a lot more about her culture and her family. And why she did what she did. She worked overnights. Her husband was a seafarer, so he worked on a cruise ship. So they didn't see each other for 6-9 months at a time. And then when they did see each other, it was for very brief stints. And her biggest goal was, I want to make money, I want to grow something, and I want to have my husband stop working remotely. Because the biggest thing he's doing now is making good money to send it back to the family. But I've got 2 kids, and they don't get to see their father. I want him to be here. And so her family has always been her biggest thing. And that's what she kind of helped me understand about her. So I really just always chatted with her and learned about what she did. So after leaving the real estate team, I went out there and I started consulting. And one of the biggest things I realized when I started consulting were most businesses I reached out to and spoke with, their biggest need wasn't to fix an issue. Their biggest need was really that they needed to make a hire. And I would talk to them. I said, hey, have you ever considered hiring overseas or specifically the Philippines? I'd get one of 2 responses. No, I don't know how to do that. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Or I've tried that before. It didn't work out, so I'm not going to do it again. Well, I understand the first thing. If you've never done something, you don't know how to do it. The second spot never made sense to me because it's like I hired a person, that person didn't work out. So are you never going to hire again? And so I kind of said, all right, well, I've done things a little differently. I've hired tons of people in the Philippines in my past role. What if I helped you? What if I did it my way? What if we tried something a little differently? And guys, I'm going to tell you all the secrets to it. It's not that difficult. I just treated people like human beings. I hired to a role. I hired with intent of this person being a long-term fit. I didn't hire out of desperation or there's a bunch of stuff on my plate. I just need somebody to come in and take it. But I treated them like any other hire. And quite honestly, that's the way I typically think of things and think through things. It's not hard to realize that happy employees is going to make for happier clients and otherwise. So that's the way I started doing things. And that's how Level was born, with really the intent of showing Filipinos as true team members is no different than any other hire. In fact, I like to think of Trixie, by the way, right here, wave your hand, Trixie, is on my team. She, by the way, she's done this entire presentation herself. I like to think of Trixie as one of my neighbors. She works from home down the street from me. In this case, it just happens to be a really long road. But ultimately, I may not see Trixie in person, but I see her every day. I talk to her every day. We're always in communication. I know a lot about Trixie. I actually used to work with her husband. So I don't see her as any different than anybody else. And that's how I would like you guys to kind of take this and move into this. So a virtual assistant is not some crazy foreign concept. It is literally just a hire. It is literally just a person on your team. So I've only hired from the Philippines. And let me say, when I say hire, I mean, I've worked with people all across the world. I've worked with India, Pakistan, Indonesia, South Africa, Mexico. I've worked with people in all different countries. But I particularly only hire from the Philippines. The Philippines, and I don't want to generalize everyone, but Trixie, I'll say that as a culture, typically, some of these things are typically what you see built into the culture and ingrained into family life. A pride and a strong work ethic, a moral code. Like there's always them wanting to do things right. They're loyal. And I can tell you, I know they're loyal because I can tell you how many people, and of my clients specifically, have tried to hire away one of my staff members. Don't do that to people. But I'll tell you that even if you try, my team will tell you no. They're honest, they're trustworthy. Oftentimes they're very well educated, college degrees are higher. But I want you to notice, out of all these things, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff on here. There's one thing that's absolutely missing. Money is not on this list because I don't see it that way. I don't see, oh yeah, you can go pay them a lot less. That's why you should hire them. To me, that would be like me standing on the side of a conference with my old boss. And if he said this one time, he's like, man, Clint is great. You guys should go meet Clint. It absolutely made my day. It was the best feeling of my life at the time, But if he had said, oh man, Clint is great. I barely pay him anything. He does anything I want. It would have ruined everything. I'd have been like, wow. And so we don't talk about our hires here in the US like that. We're not like, yeah, go check out John. I only pay him $25,000 a year. Boom, great. You don't talk about people like that. So I don't talk about people in the Philippines like that because I think that's not the right way to think about things. But this picture I want to show right here to continue the story of Charity. This is her cell phone attached to a lanyard, attached to a curtain rod while she's in the hospital. Now, normally if somebody's in the hospital, I don't expect them to work. And this was Charity back in 2016. Now, Charity, the loyal person she is, the one to do everything right, the person that's diehard committed to making sure everything goes well and that we never miss out or she never does a bad job, decided to use her phone as a hotspot to work from the hospital while she was there. Now, of course, we had to tell Charity, don't do that. You don't need to do that. We can cover for you. Tell us you're in the hospital. But I just want to show you, this is a traditional culture. This is typical. I've seen people that have had typhoons or hurricanes hit their house, flood it, and the next day they're like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'm at a neighbor's house. I'm back to work. It's like, don't you need to take care of your home life? They're like, oh yeah, I will, but I need to work, of course. The business needs to keep running. You guys need help. So the culture there is obviously that they want to have doing a good job. They want to showcase themselves as being a really beneficial part of the team. So after you decide, all right, I'm ready to make that hire, I'm ready to make that hire from the Philippines. It's not so much just to go out there and hire somebody and think it's going to work out. You got to get your mindset right about hiring. And there's a lot about this conversation that I'm going to talk about that honestly, you could take out the word Philippines or overseas and use this for every hire you ever make. Because again, I don't see this hiring any differently than somebody local. But when you hire somebody, you've got to realize and think, what's in it for them? What is in it for my new hire? Because ultimately, if you're looking for somebody to come in, transform your business, grow with you, then you can't just have hey, here's your task, here's your paycheck. There has to be opportunities for growth, for stability, opportunity, skill development, even benefits. When you hire with us, your hire is going to get 100% company paid medical insurance, really good insurance, pre-existing conditions, all those fun things for them and one of their family members. And then they're going to add additional family members if they have them at cost. They're going to get dental insurance. They're going to get a life insurance policy. They're going to get paid time off. They're going to get holidays off. They're going to have a security in their job, knowing that if they get fired for no reason or fault of their own, that they're going to get another job. There's a lot of benefits, and that creates I want to work there, I want to grow there, I want to last there, develop them there mentality. That creates stickiness with a hire. So I don't know if anybody else ever has. I definitely have. One of my first jobs ever, I took the job because I wanted the money. It wasn't good money. It was my first job ever. So it was much better than any money I've ever had before. Oh, but man, I was miserable in the role. And within a month, that misery showed and I got fired. Best decision, best mistake, or best event of my life. It would have never put me on the pathway I am now. So realize that there's got to be something for them. They have to have a desire to actually want to work with you. So are you somebody that somebody actually wants to work with? It's a good question to kind of ask and look at yourself. Next thing when you're making this hire is you also have to understand what role you're hiring for. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see when somebody hires somebody overseas is they've heard somebody say, hey, they can do anything. You can have them do anything. You can pay them a little. Get out of your mindset. They can do anything because they're a human being, but they can't do everything. So when you hire specifically to a role, and you got to make sure that it makes sense. For example, you wouldn't hire a bookkeeper and then have them do your sales as well, right? It doesn't make sense. You've got to hire the right fit, the right personality, and things like that to make sure that you're actually setting them up for success. You want to make sure that you're not creating a to-do list. Stuff on a plate, because you've got all the stuff on your plate you need somebody to do, is not a job title. And I've hired to this role way in the past, and eventually you're looking around going, well, what can I have them do today? And you're like, well, that'll take too long. I just need to do this. And eventually you're not remembering why you hired in the first place. So when you create a role, you're thinking of something 6 months, 12 months down the line of what this position actually looks like, something they can own. And that's really what true leverage is. The way I do this, if I don't know what the role is, by the way, is I take about 30, 45 minutes. I turn off my phone, my emails, notifications, everything. I just completely go dark. I grab a piece of paper or my whiteboard, and I just start brain dumping. And I brain dump every single thing I've done in the past 3 to 4 weeks. It's a random time frame, but I do everything I've done in the past 3 to 4 weeks. And then I add all the things on my list that haven't gotten done, all my side projects, so there's your stuff on the plate, and then there's your side plate, that stuff that's not even getting done. And then I group those things. I go, okay, which one of these things, first off, which one of the things did I not have to do? Which one of these things could only I have done? Nobody else could have possibly done them but me, and everything else, somebody else could have done. By the way, typically, I find that of that list, 20% is stuff that only I could have done. 80% somebody else could have handled for me. I then group those things and start looking for logic orders. These are marketing things. These are sales things. These are technology things, operations, whatever. And then I start looking into going, is this a role I need to hire for? I also look at it as, did I need to do this at all? Can I just delete this? Can I delegate this to somebody on my team? Can I automate this with technology or another solution? And then, is this a hire? Is this a place that I need to make a hire? So that's kind of my process for how do I figure out the role I'm looking for? By the way, when you come and work with us and talk with us, we can take that list and help you. We don't need you to kind of figure out everything. We don't take you and make you give us a 10-page job description. We do all that work for you. We take about 95% of the entire process off your plate. I recently saw a study that it says it takes an average of 41 days to make a hire, which surprised me because the last numbers I had seen were about 40 to 80 hours of nonstop work. They're now saying it's 168 hours. So it's a little higher than I anticipated, but it makes sense. The cost of making a hire is in the thousands. The cost of making the wrong hire is even higher than that. I say in the thousands because that's your time, not only your direct time and the expense of you doing it, but also the expense of you not growing your business. So there's the lost opportunity cost from you spending time trying to make that hire. So the biggest thing when you're now recruiting for this position, you've got the role. If you don't have a process, you're just wasting time and money. If you're just getting random people in, if you're just saying, oh, I'll just talk to this person and see if I like them, you're just wasting your time. There's a tremendous cost of a bad hire. And especially there's a bigger cost if you're not taking enough time to train that person. So you got to realize there is a time investment. Hiring is an investment, not an expense. So one of the favorite phrases I learned, and please write this down, hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast. What that means is take a time to have a process to go through everything and make sure you're hiring the right fit for you. Fire fast doesn't mean, oh, they made one mistake, they're done. When you notice there's a pattern, a trend, or a severe disconnect, massive red flags, that's when you need to go, probably isn't the right fit for me. Go back and start over because this is an investment. You want to make sure that you cut the investment before it starts tanking, right? don't want to talk about what's going on in the world, but yeah, cut your investment while you still can and go back and start over. You'll definitely get things going faster. There are obviously a lot of things to look out for when making that hire. And of course, reach out to us. Even if you're not working with us, if you think there's a red flag, reach out and we'll tell you. We'll tell you what we think about our situation. We're here to help. We're not here to pitch or sell. So when you think about that role, not only are you thinking about the position and everything you're going to be doing, but when you're making a hire, you need to look and make sure you're hiring for the right skill set for the role, the right personality for the role. For example, if you have somebody that will be answering, replacing phone calls, you need to make sure that they've got the right personality. You also have to make sure they have the right desire or motivation for that role. How many people do you know, administrative people, that would rather email or text until their fingers fell off than pick up that phone? I know quite a few. So you want to make sure they've got the right personality and the right desire and motivation for that role. And that's part of asking those questions and figuring out, is this person, what has this person done in the past? Look at their past, look at their history, look at their desire. Are they coming to you because they're just looking for a job or because they're passionate about what they do? When you hire somebody overseas, they're going to come with their own equipment, their own laptop, internet, and everything like that. So you need to do system checks. So checking out their internet connection, backup internet connection, checking out their computer specs, making sure they have a backup computer just in case the first one goes down, something they can use. It even helps in the Philippines to know where they are located geographically. Are they in a major city, major area, or are they on a remote island? Some of those have better power internet than others. You definitely need to know those types of things and look for where you're hiring from. And then one of the things I always say is, first off, check references. Always talk to people. If you are unsure if you're talking to the real person or not, ask them for a reference. Ask them who else works at that company that you might want to know. If there's some sketchiness or some weird answers, you might have your answer that person may be just sharing with you a friend or family member. So definitely dig deep when it comes to references. I always say go 3 deep, meaning ask a reference for a reference, for a reference, for a reference down the line until basically they don't know anybody anymore. And always do that. A lot of people choose 1 or 2 references. Choose as many as you can. And then avoid the mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people make the mistake of, I know somebody over there, or I know somebody that knows somebody over there, and they've got somebody that wants to work. That is hiring friend of a friend. It's not something you typically do locally here. If I kind of knew of somebody that was like, hey, my friend's looking for a job, I would interview the heck out of that person. I would vet them myself. I would make sure before even before talking about anything about the business, is I would make sure that we're on the same page with our core values, with our mission, with what they're trying to do. I wouldn't just assume that I should hire this person. And I see this all the time, especially on Facebook. A lot of times people will say, hey, I don't need my VA anymore. They can do this, and here's how much they cost. And 50 people respond with, oh, I'm interested, I'll hire them. You don't even know this person. They could be terrible at their job. This person could be lying to you. Why would you hire somebody without vetting them? So make sure you always vet every single person you talk to. When you onboard this person, I like to say that obviously, I don't think of hiring somebody remotely as different than hiring somebody. Onboarding is a little differently. It's not the exact same as hiring somebody domestically. I think mostly it's about working remotely. And so these are also going to be really good tips for hiring somebody that just works remotely. First off, you got to build trust by communicating and living what you say. So when you communicate, you got to set proper expectations with your hire. Communicate openly, communicate honestly, communicate frequently, promptly, and professionally. Overly communicating is by far the biggest thing I've ever seen that people mess up on. They don't communicate well, they don't live the way they say they're going to communicate, and they don't communicate at all. I talked to somebody that was like, hey, I didn't have a good experience with my VA. Why should I try again? So I asked them, I was like, great, who is their manager? And they looked at me like a deer with the headlights in its eyes. I was like, Did they have a manager? He goes, well, no. How can you expect anybody to be successful if they don't have somebody they can report to, talk to, somebody checking in on them? Working remotely is hard, y'all. I'm not going to say it's easy. When I first started working remotely back at the old real estate group I was with, if I went 2, 3, 4 days without hearing from my boss, working remotely was a new thing. This was back in early 2018. I would ask the question like, hey, am I doing a good job? Is he caring what I'm doing? Is he thinking about firing me? You know, not hearing communication is bad. So give lots of feedback, give lots of positive reinforcement. There's a way to communicate negative information in a positive way. It's very simple. If you get a project or something sent over to you that isn't to your liking, just say, I'd prefer it like this, or I like what you've done, and I think it needs to be this, or let's try it like this. Definitely a lot of ways to positively communicate changes, especially when you first start working with this person. You've got to build that trust. They need to know that their job's not on the line. They need to know that they're doing a good job. They need to know what you're feeling, because again, culturally, typically they want to do a good job. So if they don't know, they're going to assume perhaps I'm not. And they don't want to look like they're messing up. So by all means, tell them. And then always have questions. Always encourage those questions. Have meetings. Typically, Filipino workers are culturally not encouraged to ask questions. Asking questions can show that you're slow to understand things, and it is typically seen negatively if you're working for a Filipino boss. This is where this vastly differs from the US, where questions are gold, right? If a new hire comes to you with really great pointed questions, then absolutely you love it. They might think that they might not get it, or might be acting too slowly or working too slowly. So always encourage them to ask questions. And then you have to live that. So if they come ask you a question, you come with open arms. You let them know that you trust them, that things are okay, that it's good to ask questions, that you're not going to basically, shove it down their throat, that they're asking you a question, that they're bothering you. You act promptly, act professionally to help them, versus just kind of jumping down them or just kind of not letting them have the questions. In other words, exude the behavior you want to, or reward the behavior that you want, right? Look at them for coming to you with questions and reward that behavior rather than negating it. And then I put on here annual reviews, thanks to Crixie, because she told me, you got to think this is a long-term person. So if you're not thinking in advance how you're going to handle reviews, then you might not be making the right hire. You might not be ready to make a hire. You got to be thinking this is a long-term person. So not just annual reviews, but weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, especially we'll talk about a 30, 60, 90. Making sure you understand that this person is here for a long term, not just for a short-term project or just to help you out while you're in need. I also like to say, think of seasonality. Some businesses and some industries have different times of the year where they might be a little slower. This is not the time to fire your person and hope that you can hire them again after seasonality ends. This is the time to have them relax or work on projects you didn't get the chance to work on the rest of the year. There's a lot of stuff. Our business typically, seasonality for us is right at the end of the year, December timeframe. We have a year-end party in the Philippines every single year. So it's a big ordeal. It takes the entire staff and more to make it happen, just because it's a logistical circus, right? And so at the end of the year, after that party, it's usually, hey, if you've got work to do, cool. If you don't, take off, spend time with your family, you work your butt off. This is the time to relax. And we know that income might be slower that month. We're prepared for that. We also know that, hey, if there's projects you want to work on, come and do those types of things. But otherwise, we kind of leave it flexible to those people to decide what they're working on. And that's the type of person that we hire. It's the person we don't have to micromanage because we've given them a role. A few different leadership systems and tools here. I'd love to talk about. The biggest thing ever is you have to train. This isn't an investment. You have to put that capital which is your time, into your investment. I like to think of training as, you know, you hired somebody and a lot of people are like, well, I don't have time to train or anything else. Okay. Trixie, let me ask you a question. Do you know how to make a sandwich? If I ask, yeah.
Of course. I love sandwiches.
If I said, hey, Trixie, I'm hungry. Can you go make me a sandwich? Would you be able to do it?
I'm not sure how you want your sandwich, but I can try.
I love that answer. Thank you. I love that answer. Yeah, you could do it, but you don't know anything about what I like, I dislike, my dietary restrictions, my allergies. You could kill me. You don't know, but you could do it, but you can't do it for me yet. So when somebody comes into your business, it's easy to go, this person has experience or they kind of get it. It's easy to think quickly, this person gets it, and leave them be. In other words, to let them do their thing on their own too soon. I find that a lot of people tend to come with baggage from their old positions. And that might be, you know, their habits or their old way of doing things, because that's the way they used to do it in another business, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way that they used to do it. Especially if somebody came from the same industry as you, they might go, oh yeah, you notice that they know what they're talking about, you know what they're doing, so they just go start doing. But what happens is you don't want them to start unpacking that luggage into your business. In other words, putting those bad habits, because the way they did things is likely not the way you do things. So don't let them go too soon. Keep up with them, keep training them. And I recommend a tool called a 30-60-90. Now, if you have never heard of a 30-60-90, all this is, it's a 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day game plan for new hires. It's not that difficult. And there's even a guide online. I can send you it if you email me. Otherwise, Asana has a really good one that typically we use to send to our clients. It's what is this person going to be doing in the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days? What are they going to do? What are they going to learn? And how are they going to learn this? This is not a, oh my goodness, you are the best of the best. You are the utmost premier person, and this is what you will achieve. This is I can expect reasonably a normal person coming into this role to learn and do these things in the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. It's a base level. And I consider this still part of the job process, the interview process. And what I mean by that is you and I will come up with some very defined goals, SMART goals, the acronym SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, or relatable and time-bound. Sorry. SMART goals. I consider those to be something that you can measure. Really, the biggest thing is measure. Time-bound is going to be 30 to 60 to 90 days, but it's something that you can measure. So anyway, it can be measured. It doesn't have to be a number. If I say, Trixie, I need you to be able to tell us our process, talk to me about the process from start to end without having to look up any notes. That would be a measurable thing. And at the end of 30 days, I would expect her to know exactly how she fits in to that as well. So measurable things, you know, and there could be self-guided training with other team members, talking to other companies and businesses in your industry, learning how they do things. Guys, there's enough business for everyone here. I'm good friends with one of our competition. We call it co-opetition. Back when 2020 hit, we had stopped hiring for sales-based, phone-based prospecting roles. We still had people on our team though. And when 2020 hit, a lot of businesses didn't know what was going to happen. And so we saw a quick turnaround with firing, and it was a really tough time. But my competitor reached out to me and said, hey, I saw that you have, you know, because I post online, hey, we've got these people, I'm looking for jobs for them. Before we do anything else with anybody else, I'm finding these people jobs. And he says, hey, I saw you've got 8 people that you need help with that are all phone-based that you're not doing anymore. I'll take them all. Financially, that's not a good decision for me, but it's not about me. These people just lost their jobs, it's about them. And so I said, absolutely, thank you. And some of those people are like, but we don't want to go. It's like, you have a choice, it's your choice, but here's a job that's lined up for you if you want to keep working. And so we let all those 8 people go, except for two people desperately wanted to stay with us. But we let those people go. And so I do believe in co-opetition, reaching out to your competitors and talking to them. Guys, you come to these these conferences, you come to these webinars, realize that people are here to share with you. They're literally giving you the secrets. I will tell you exactly how to make a hire. It is fine to share these types of things with your competition. Next thing I talk about is doing I do, we do, they do. What this means is when you train somebody, you show them what you're doing. You're saying, hey, you're going to watch me as I do this. I'm going to do it the way I do it, and you're going to follow along. At the end of it, you can ask questions or ask questions during it. If it's with a client, then ask questions afterwards. The next way we're going to do it is we're going to do it together. So we're kind of splitting the role. So if you are meeting with somebody, and maybe this is a person that you're hiring as a recruiter, then you're going to meet with them. So the first time would be, well, the first time, maybe even month, will be you watch me do it. The second month, maybe you and I are going to do it together as if we are sitting on the same side of the table. And then the third part of that is they do it, meaning you're going to watch them as if you are a trainee and you're not going to talk. You're going to be watching them do the whole process and then talk to them about it afterwards. The fourth part about this is not listed on here. It's what's called theirs. In other words, once you kind of understood that you've gone through this process and they get it, now it's theirs. They own it. You don't own it anymore. That's what true leverage is. And a big thing here, guys, is always start with why you do something. Anytime you train, anytime you're going over a process, before you tell them how to do it, start with why you do this. I have made this mistake countless times, and I'll tell you, don't make the same mistakes I do. Hey, if you click this button, it deletes everything. Don't do that. One of the big things I noticed years and years ago was I said, hey, oh my goodness, this client, we're gonna give them this much money. We're gonna refund them this much, whatever it was back in the day. The next time a similar situation came up, guess what happened? Without asking, they went and refunded that person's money. And it was like, why did you do that? Oh, because that's what you did it last time. I thought that's the way we do it. Well, goodness, that's a $2,000 mistake I'd prefer not to make. Here's why we did it the way last time. Here's the boundaries I'd like you to understand really revolves around money and refunds. Here's the criteria I'm going to have you think through, and here's why we do everything we do. Some tools on here, we listed Zoom, Slack, Google Meet, Skype. A lot of people ask me for specific tools to work with their hire. Whatever works best for you guys, you know. Crixie, you and I, Slack, Charity, we would text. She's got an iPhone, so we iMessage. We do the FaceTime audio because it's free. Other team members, I use WhatsApp. You know, it really depends what works best for you, but there's a ton of different solutions and technology systems out there. Again, I don't see it too much differently than working here with somebody locally. So I think this slide took me the longest, by the way, mostly because I didn't know where to put the apostrophe in the word don'ts. Is it one? Is it two? It is one. From everything I can find out, it is one. So if you don't learn anything else, learn that that's don'ts today. But there are some big things to learn about. Do learn their culture. Do learn, you know, that was the biggest thing that helped me was calling Charity every night just to talk to her about her family life, her culture, and how they live. Do communicate. There are a lot of, you know, there is a different language, and there are different idioms. For example, I think I used this one a couple of months ago. I said, not to beat a dead horse, which got a lot of shocked responses because that's an idiom that is not used in the Philippines. So they were like, what are you talking about, beat a dead horse? So learn the idioms, things like, let's put down the back burner. You know, to us, we've got multiple burners. We put things on the back burner. That's instinctively what we do. You know, that's how to say, I'm putting something off and not focusing on it right now. They don't have that over there. When you communicate, schedule a cadence, daily and weekly for communication. Crixie knows the cadence. When you come in every day, you say good morning, you say hi, and we do that in our group chat in Slack. To us, we consider Slack as our physical office space. So when you come in, you say good morning. When you leave to go on break, you say, hey, I'm heading on the break. When you leave for the day, you say goodbye. That's the same as if you're in an office. You know, we take the breakout rooms as kind of a separate workspace for us. So having a daily communication cadence, even if it's just say hi, definitely is needed. The other thing is a weekly cadence for communication, one-on-ones. How are things going? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? All the biggest things in there for helping make sure that you guys are on the same page. You have to be talking to this person and communicating often, and don't ever let this go away. Trixie knows that Mondays are the busiest day for me because I just have back-to-back one-on-ones. That is my priority. My people are my investment, my biggest investment that will take the business further than anything else I could do on my own. So I take my priority Monday morning, and I don't stop until I've finished all those investments. When you set expectations, I would say start early. How do you communicate? How do you want them to communicate? Also asking them their expectations. Hey, how do you learn? What's the best way you learn? How do you want constructive criticism? How do you want me to be open and honest with you? When something's not going well, what's the best way to communicate with you? I set those on day one, and I write them down for every single person I ever work with. And when there is a time that I need to communicate with them, I open up that document and go, oh, that's right. They wanted it quickly. They wanted it bluntly. They didn't want me to sugarcoat things. Or they wanted it nicely. They can't handle blunt. I also say give them things like health insurance, benefits. We're able to offer benefits because we have a company in the Philippines. That's how we handle compliance and everything else as well. But offer them those types of things. There are other solutions to offering them those types of options. But those types of things are a necessity. Quick story. Last time I was in the Philippines, back at the end of November on Thanksgiving Day, I ended up in a hospital. I ended up there for 4 days. It was really tough without insurance. I have the worst insurance of anybody in our company. It was very tough without insurance. The doctors did not want to see me without me paying up front, because why would you trust somebody that doesn't have insurance? You got to have them pay up front. Well, they also don't accept credit card. So they asked for that money in cash. And they also don't have an ATM. So me, unable to walk, unable to really manage myself, was fortunate enough to have somebody with me that could actually go to an ATM to get cash out to bring back to the hospital to pay for that care for 4 days. To give you guys a dollar-to-dollar perspective, what that would have cost here in the US if we're trying to say this is how much it was versus how much it would be in the US, would be the equivalent to somebody in the Philippines of about $6,000 to $7,000 in cash. Now, you don't even need to show me hands, but I'll tell you, I don't have a lot of friends or myself that can go to the ATM and pull out $6,000 or $7,000 on a moment's notice to be treated. I don't know a ton of people that have that kind of spare money just that they can pull out easily. So I think health insurance, kind of like I think it is here, I think it's absolutely a necessity. So, and of course, train. I'm not going to harp this enough because a lot of people stop training. They think they don't need a trainer. They try to hire somebody that's already trained. Honestly, don't try to hire somebody that's already trained. It's just going to set you up for failure. People try to say, well, I'm going to go with this company because they train. They don't know your business. Any training they're going to do is going to be super generic to what you're asking for. They don't know your business, and they're not going to be what you want to do. Don't complicate their role. In other words, don't start giving them bookkeeping tasks when they're a salesperson or vice versa. Don't do a bunch of random tasks and random things on there. Have a real thing there. Don't give meaningless tasks. And I think that a lot of people forget that there are meaningless tasks out there. I heard a self-proclaimed virtual assistant guru bragging about how he pays his person $2 an hour, and all he does is every week he will snap a picture of his fridge and say, hey, look what's not in there, and order it on Instacart. And I'm like, how can you treat somebody like that, man? I don't know if anybody that wants that job. I mean, that's not a great paying job for the meaning work that you're giving them. Don't expect instant results. They're a new hire, by 90 days, they should get it. They should understand their role and do it. By week 2, they shouldn't, right? Crixie, I love Crixie, and I think she's a great example. I'm so happy you're here right now because you know a lot of stuff. You know a lot of stuff more than me. She's our marketing manager here, and she is by far much better. This PowerPoint would have looked like a 2-year-old drew it with crayons if I did it. She is so eager to just run that I'm like, excited because that makes me have to move faster. But I have to like pull her back, like, Crixie, it's still new. She's still new here. I need you to learn more. Learn. You know, let's go train. Let's train more. And she's like, I'm ready to tackle this thing. You need this thing done. And I'm like, I know if you take 3 more weeks learning, that project will go twice as fast and 10 times better than we ever thought it would. So I absolutely love that you're here and you like to run fast. And it's also fun to have to slow you down because it makes me speed up, right? I don't encourage time tracking. I think there's a lot of people that have pitched this before, talked about this. They do screen recording. Let's do some math here real quick. Let's say you're making 50 to 100,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $25 an hour, 100,000 is $50 an hour, 25 or $50 an hour. You're hiring somebody, let's say they're at $10 an hour even. And every day you get a report where you're watching over what they did that day to see what they're working on, how they're doing, whatever. So you're looking at this thing for 30 minutes, maybe a day. So you're spending $12.50 to $25 of your time to try to see how much more you could have got from this $10 an hour person. I think that's a waste of time. And I think that's a waste of energy. And I think that shows and doesn't build trust with a person. I don't typically do that with anybody. So why would I do that with anybody remotely? Basically, how would you feel if that was you? I know my staff. Crixie, you worked late yesterday. I saw that. I watch everything. I know who's working and who's not, just based on how I see things. I'm looking for results, and that's what I'm looking for. So Crixie, this morning, what did you say? When you first messaged everybody in the chat, what did you say this morning?
Well, I was running late on my appointment, so I asked if I could sign in late an hour later.
Which is not a single problem. You understand we have to communicate, and you did that perfectly. Yeah. You let everyone know, and you let them know as soon as possible. There's not a single problem I have with you showing up late, because I know that you know the role that you have, the work that you need to get done, and the commitments that you make to everybody to get your stuff done. So I don't have to worry about when you show up, because I'm here for your results, not for your time. Don't not pay them. I think this is funny, and I use funny as the wrong term completely, that people actually do this. But I've seen it way too often, and I would absolutely go after any single person I saw that did this. And I've rectified it for people that have done this too. For some reason, when somebody's not working for you or directly next to you, sometimes people think it's okay not to pay them because they're not happy with the output. But this side, they don't feel like it. So you'll have a person that does work for you, or maybe business isn't going well, and you don't pay them. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this, and it absolutely hurts me every single time that somebody would treat somebody like that, because they're like, oh, yeah, they were working, but I'm just not happy with the quality of their output. This is a hire. It is just like any other hire. If they work, you pay them. It's the right thing to do. I also say don't be that boss, basically the boss that has impossible standards that are unable to achieve. People aren't going to be you day one. You were not you on day one. You came into this business not knowing everything you know today. You are not going to be able to train somebody to be as fast as you for a while. That's okay. You need to realize that hey, 70–80% leverage is still really good leverage. If all you have to do is finishing the last 20% of what they do, that's fantastic. That's great leverage. And lastly, don't skimp on training or let go of the training too soon, which we kind of already chatted about. I want to talk about ghosting as well. Now, ghosting, for anybody that hasn't been in a dating world in the last 5–10 years, typically means that the person just stops communicating with you. It sucks in the dating world. It sucks even worse in the business world. A lot of times people, and this might be a little bit more unique to the Philippines, they may not be confrontational, especially without a relationship built. So they might ghost because they're embarrassed that they don't know what to do, that they're worried they're not the right fit for the role. Funny enough, right? I don't know if I'm the right fit for the role, so I'll quit before you fire me. They might be too afraid or timid to speak up and ask for help, especially if you haven't overly emphasized come to me with questions, come to me with help. I'm not going to come down your throat for it. You can, by all means, come to me and I will be there for you. And they're also sometimes worried that you might be angry and fire them. It's strange. They might quit because they're worried about being fired. So there's ways to overcome this. Reassure your person that they can come to you for help. Tell them you won't get upset if they get stuck. Like I've said, give training, give feedback, follow up with them. Always follow up with them. And really start off with having realistic expectations. And then live all of those. If you're not living the way you've told them that you're going to be, then why would somebody actually want to work with you? I would expect them to ghost you. To wrap this all up, guys, if you didn't learn anything today, then there's a really cool symbol right between experience and relationship right there. It means it's directly proportional to. Take that and do what you want with it. It's a fun little symbol. It looks like a fish. But I always say that your experience is in direct proportion to the relationship that you have. And this is with anybody. You can take this in every aspect of your life if you really want to look at it that way. But your experience is always in direct proportion to your relationship. And I always believe it starts off with communication and trust. By far, the number one issue I've seen so many times with somebody that they say things aren't working out is communication. Hey, they're not getting this. What did they say when you talk to them about it? I haven't talked to them about it. How can you expect them to achieve? So it starts with trust. How you treat this person, how you train this person, paying fairly, paying on time, complimenting their work when they do well, responding to them quickly, being thoughtful, respecting their culture, et cetera, et cetera. Making sure that this person is always aligned with your mission and your values, right? Those are some of the biggest things. So I want to kind of go back to one person. Remember Charity from the beginning of this conversation? I said I used to work with Charity. Now I went into consulting and I started helping people make hires. When I started helping people make hires, I reached out to Charity first thing. I said, hey, Charity, you and I have the same mindset for how people should be treated. How would you like working with me again, where we help people in the Philippines, help them become true team members, pay them well, give them benefits, really change their lives? And without hesitation, Charity said, I'm in. So this is a picture of Charity and I at our year-end party in December of 2022 with maybe half of our team there in the Philippines. And I'll tell you, you may not be thinking of the world that you might be able to open up for somebody. When you build that trust and communicate, you can open doors you never thought were possible. And you can expand opportunities to meet people and make the connections across the globe to lead into something as amazing as this. Charity's still with us. She still runs the team. She's the director of operations. And I would never be able to do any of that without her. So by all means, trust that you can hire people that can do things better than you in time. But you got to start with the communication. You've got to have that trust. All right. I know that was a lot. I noticed people were typing in the chat, so I'll try to read through those. But please, if you have questions, just come off of mute and ask them. That way I can help answer directly. We don't have time here. Oh, shoot. We're at 12 exactly.
I can see that there are a lot of people interested, like in discuss further how to like hire a virtual assistant. So I don't know if you can give us like an email or something so that people can reach out to you.
Yeah. Here's my information. Here's all the things that we kind of share with people that are really easy, that people typically like to ask. A lot of people don't like putting their pricing out there. I do, because I don't care who sees it. Crixie knows how much we charge. She knows how much we pay. We have so much benefit to the people that we hire that there's not a huge overhead here. We're not trying to make a ton of money real quickly. We're only here for long-term relationships. But my email is right there at the bottom. You are absolutely able to email me directly, and I will answer any questions you have, even if you're not trying to hire with us. Although if you ask me random questions, which sometimes people do, I may not be the right person, but I'll tell you that. Susan, you asked a good question. I would need bilingual assistant with English and Spanish. Spanish is spoken in the Philippines, and it is not super common. So if you were looking to hire somebody that is bilingual Spanish and English, I'd recommend a different country. I know a lot of good people that have hired people from Mexico for those types of roles in some other Central and South America countries. I can't remember exactly which ones. I'd have to reach out to them and find out where they hire and say the best people are for them. So my experience would be, I wouldn't personally help you hire somebody that's trying to speak Spanish, because the pool of people is this big, and I like to have a pool of people that are this big and narrow it down to the absolute best. Typically for one hire, we're narrowing it down from, depending on the role, anywhere from 75 to 150 people to find the right hires.
Yeah, Clint, we still have a couple of minutes. Marilyn actually asked about how to vet someone in a foreign country.
Yeah, so having a process where you are talking to them about the right questions, talking to them about their goals, their habits. You're not asking conceptualized questions. Those Google-esque questions like, hey, if you were shrunk to the size of a nickel and tossed in a blender, how would you get out? Don't ask those questions. Don't ask a question, what crayon color would you be if you were a crayon? That's a stupid question. You don't know what you're trying to get from it. Don't ask that question. Ask traditional questions. You may not receive a lot of questions back. That's okay. A lot of times they might not ask you questions, and that's absolutely fine. It kind of goes back to what I said here, where they're not going to be open to asking questions because it might make them look dumb or stupid, or for whatever reason they're not inclined to ask questions at the end of an interview. When you're vetting them, doing the reference checks, the technology checks, fortunately, without a company in the Philippines, you're not going to be able to do like a background check, like an FBI grade background check. So you need somebody to be able to do that for you. That's one of the solutions that we offer when you hire with us, is we do all of that for you. Interviewing them, having other people interview them. I recommend what's called a black hat interview, where you go and you find somebody that is, if you don't have anybody on your team, ask one of the people on the call here, hey, I have this new hire. I'm not confident that I'm making the best choice because I'm only one person. Can you help me interview this person wearing a black hat? Meaning they're looking at this person more critically. They're looking at this person as, why shouldn't we hire them versus why should we hire them? And it's a way to get a good perspective. I always recommend, if you don't have anybody to help you hire, asking your friends, asking the people in these industries to help join those interviews with you. That's where we come in. We're obviously, when we hire with you, we actually have a dedicated recruiter that essentially will sit on the same side of the table as you and ask questions to those candidates on your behalf, as well as kind of chat with you during the interview process on things that you like, things that you don't like, things like that, to help you find that right fit. I also see a question about training. Oh, I love this one. A lot of people think that they need to spend a lot of time creating training manuals, videos, and all that stuff before a new hire. I don't do that. So here's what I do. I do create the 30, 60, 90. So I know what they need to be trained on. I know what they need to learn. So that's where I go from there. But typically what I'll do is I'll hop on a Zoom like this, and I'll tell the person, hey, Crixie, we're going to learn how to do this today. This is the process we have in place, and I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to record this session so you can have the video afterwards. I would like you to take notes on everything about this process so that you can send that to me afterwards, so I know that you know what you're doing. Does that sound good so far? Great. So I'm going to go through and teach you, here's how I do it. Here's what to do. Here's what not to do. Remember the whole, don't click this button, you'll delete everything and it ruins everything. Don't do that. But most importantly, I'm teaching why to do this. At the end of that training, ask any questions you want, please do. And I will look through your training guide to see if you've got it. Now you've got a training guide and a video that this person can use, so they can revert back to it anytime. And I've got that now created for my next hire. So if I hire multiple roles, for example, we hire recruiters all the time for ourselves, well, then we just pass that to the recruiter, say, hey, go watch this and learn this and come back to me. And then we'll discuss it, and then we'll have you test it out and show me how you do it. So there are ways to leverage training. Other things I would say is, Crixie, for you, I mean, even we've had you go and review competitors. We've had you go review other companies. We've had you review all of our marketing materials. There's a lot of hands-off training you can do. For example, we use, our CRM. I don't know everything about our CRM. Somebody on our team does, because their role was to go learn everything you can about the CRM and teach us how to use it. So they join webinars, They join classes, they join trainings, one-on-ones, they read FAQs, blog posts about how to use the CRM, and they came and said, oh, hey, we're doing something wrong. We need to fix this with our training or with our utilization of the CRM. So there's definitely ways to leverage other people to do the training for you.
Can I ask a follow-up question then?
Please.
So if you were going to record it, did you say you were using Zoom and just using the Zoom function to record?
Yeah, it's quite simply the easiest one for me, unless it's, you can use Zoom, you can use Loom, but you still have to have them on a type of webinar type screen sharing. So Google Meet plus Loom type thing. Anything you can click record on. Zoom, I think, is by far the one people know most often these days and use most frequently. So it's one.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you. Have I missed any questions here? I'm trying to scroll through. There are a lot. Oh, you asked another question. If we hired you, who's the employer, me or you? So you wouldn't be the employer technically because you don't have the business in the Philippines. They actually get hired through the company in the Philippines. That's how they get the benefits and everything else like that. It's not actually possible to hire somebody foreign unless you actually hire them here in the US. There's a lot of rules, regulations, legal stuff to go through. We make this simple. You hire us as a company in the US, you pay us. We hire them with our company in the Philippines, and we treat you two like true team members. We're a partner in all of this. So we're handling your payroll, your HR, your benefits, literally everything on the back end. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You just have to work with this person. I'll tell you, I hired a team member in Alaska half a year ago, and there are so many rules and regulations to hire somebody in Alaska. It took me a month to get through it. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much more than I didn't know. I had to have a business set up there. I had to pay taxes there, all this stuff, which is, what we've done over the past few years is figured all out in the Philippines. And that's why we were able to maintain compliance for everybody that wants to make that hire overseas.
Follow-on question to that.
Please.
So are you saying for this pricing you're showing me for $16.10 a month for full-time for 40 hours, that would include their health benefits?
It literally includes everything. We made it as simple as possible. This pricing fits about 90% of the roles that we hire for.
Wow, that's great.
I can't tell you any role in the nanny placement or babysitting industries that have changed this pricing.
Okay.
Highly
Great.
technical,
That's
highly skilled
wonderful.
rules change that. But yes, this includes benefits, pay time off, holidays, literally everything. It's a flat rate. We did this on purpose because when you hire somebody locally, you kind of have your set budget for them for that month, right? If you're paying them $60,000 a year, that's $5,000 a month. It's going to be about $5,000 every single month. So we made it simple, and we just said, hey, we want to make this as easy and simple as possible. We don't have to go into a bunch of advanced math degrees to help somebody. So we just kept it simple. 40 hours a week, you choose that schedule. We recruit and hire somebody specifically to that schedule, $16.10 a month. That's it.
Who controls the hours when they work?
So when you're hiring, you choose that schedule. So with us, full-time person, choose the hours, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever. We're going to specifically recruit for that position. Part-time, we actually have it as a split shift. Most of the people we hire are looking for full-time employment, which is strongly what I recommend for majority of the roles that we hire for, because full-time people looking for full-time work are going to be higher quality, higher caliber, typically, than somebody looking for part-time. You may have seen this in other industries, other careers that you've worked in. But that's a split shift. So it's either gonna be 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. We do monitor their clock-ins. So when they clock in and clock out for payroll purposes, if we notice they haven't clocked in for the day, we'll at least alert you to kind of say, hey, don't worry, we're your boots on the ground. Let's reach out. We're going to reach out to them for you to find out if anything's going on, check on them, see if there's something happening, which is also a big benefit when hurricane season comes. We actually have an emergency response team that checks on every single person and lets you know before you find out that there's even a typhoon or hurricane that your person might be okay or affected and able to work or not. Yeah, welcome. Rachel, somebody who's very strong in Canva and reforming resumes, creating social media content as an option. Yes, we hire that role almost every single week. Is there a trial period where I can try the person out? No, because you're hiring somebody. So, that would be like going and hiring somebody off of Indeed right now and saying, hey, I'm going to try you. It's like, well, are you hiring me or not? So there's no trial period. I would say that you definitely want to spend the time in that process, hiring this person. Of course, we're going to narrow it down for a lot of people for you and work with you. And then we have actually a team of success coaches that reach out to both you and your new hire over the next days, weeks, even months, even years, to make sure that you guys have a really awesome working relationship together. And then she said, time zones. Oh, thank you for asking that question. Yes, they are working your time zones. Crixie, what time is it right now?
It's 1 a.m. here in the
It's
Philippines.
1 a.m.
And I'm
Yeah.
just starting my day.
Exactly. So yes, they work our US-based hours. They will work specifically to the time zone that you're scheduling when we schedule those hours. So full-time 8 to 9, I'm sorry, 8 to 5 Central. They're working 8 to 5 Central. I want to bring up that though, Gracie, if you don't mind. A lot of people often go, ooh, I don't know about them working graveyard hours. The people we hire have experience working graveyard. So we're really aware of that beforehand. That's something that if you do go hire, by the way, you need to work out and find out if they've had that experience before or not. There's a lot of benefits. Being in the Philippines, I can tell you that commuting in traffic might be 1 to 2 hours each way. And every day, that's a lot. So it's a lot of benefit to spend 2 to 4 hours extra at home. Some people have kids or family members that they take care of. Maybe they go to school. This is honestly a better opportunity for them to spend that time with their family. And I'll just be honest with you guys, working a graveyard shift is going to pay better. So financially, it's better for them as well. I'm not seeing any other questions. If you do have any other questions, my email's right there. Otherwise, Alejandro, do we have enough time to ask any more questions, or we want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, if we actually have some time if we want to finish. If not, we can just send you the recording and send you all of your information so that they can contact you if they want to know more information about you.
Perfect. Guys,
Okay.
I'm going to sit here quietly smiling for the next 10 seconds. If you have any questions, bring them up. Otherwise, that'll be it.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us. So please let us know if you have more questions, or if not, you will receive soon the recording and all of Clint's information.
Awesome. Thank you, Alejandro. Appreciate it. Guys,
Yeah, thank you, Clint. We really enjoyed it and it was great. Thank you
awesome.
so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye everyone. Thank you so much.